Hello, and welcome back to my channel. If you are wondering how to get pregnant faster, you are not alone. More women than ever are struggling with their fertility, whether it's delayed conception or unexplained infertility. And the thing is there are many factors that are within your control. So often when we are trying to get pregnant and it's not working out, you've been trying for 6 months, 12 months, maybe a couple of years, you think that it all just boils down to AMH and FSH. But I'm here to tell you that there are other control factors that can help to boost these numbers, but also remembering that AMH and FSH are fertility clinics, so IVF and IUI numbers. If you're trying to get pregnant naturally, we only need one egg. The first thing that is so important about getting pregnant faster, getting pregnant this year, just like simply getting pregnant, is understanding your cycle. Your cycle can give you so many clues whether your fertility is abundant and functioning as it should or whether it needs a little bit of rebooting. If you don't ovulate regularly, that is something that needs to be addressed immediately. Because if you aren't ovulating, how are you going to get pregnant? If there's no ovulation, there is no pregnancy. And so ovulation is important. Now, this is something that you can track by doing basal body temperature training because there are something called anovulatory cycles, which means you period, but you didn't ovulate. And so again, you could be seeing blood, but not be ovulating. So you need to be able to check. Am I ovulating or not? And so that will help you understand if there is work to do because your period is your fifth vital sign. I've said it once, if I've said it 1,000 times. If your period is showing you signs that things are not clicking the way that they should, you need to address that first before you go and try and get pregnant. And what I mean by that is your period super irregular. It's 22 days, and then it's 35 days, and then it's 26 days, then it's 41 days. If that is the case, it will be very hard to target when you ovulate. So we have to bring it to a more regular clip, as they like to say. Also, is your period super heavy, super clotty, really long and painful? If that is the case, then you also need to be looking at that because that could indicate an estrogen dominance or a progesterone deficiency. And so we need to do the work on your hormones first before we go start trying. And the reason I say this is because if you are beating your head against the wall every single month, trying and it's just not happening, then we have to go deeper. It's not just about, okay, well, I can't get pregnant or I'm just too old. It could have to do with the question, is your body baby friendly? And this is a question that you have to ask and answer for yourself. And how you start to determine that is by using one of the best clues we have, and that is our menstrual cycle. So again, if your period is like super scant, so it's light, it's like a 2 or 3 day period, that's not good either. And I know for those of us who have a contentious relationship with our period, having a really short one kind of feels like a win. But when you're trying to get pregnant, it's actually not a win. You want your period to be about 4 to 7 days. You want the first 3-ish days to be heavy and consistent. You want the blood to be red. You don't want to be spotting because if you are spotting a lot before your period, so ahead of your period actually starting, you wipe and you see blood, that's not a good thing either because that is an indication of a progesterone issue. And progesterone is the hormone that helps you hold a pregnancy. And so if you have progesterone issues, there are things that we can do to build your progesterone function, but we have to know that there's an issue in the first place. And I have worked with women where they'll say, well, my period is fine. And, I get my period and then I'll dig a little deeper and they're like, well, I spot before, it's super light or it's super painful. And those are cues to me and clues that there is some work to do on your hormone function. So using your period as a guide to where things need to start is a really, really good idea. And also, if you are having issues with your period, I encourage you to stop trying because you're going to break your heart every single month and instead do the work. Live in a prep stage for 3 months or 6 months. 3 months is 1 cycle of egg maturation. 6 months is 2 cycles, and that goes the same for sperm quality. So if you give yourself 3 or 6 months of just like, I am in prep, I'm doing all of the things, then you are likely to get a better response. And again, that is not to say that you're doing anything wrong, but there are things that you might not know, and I'm here to help you discover them. One thing I really want to drive home is that it's not just about age. I have helped women in their 40s get pregnant. My stepmom had a baby at 48 completely naturally. A lot of my mom's friends had kids in their 40s completely naturally. My sister-in-law, like the numbers are there. And so again, when you go into a fertility clinic space, they are going to talk about your age. They're going to say you're geriatric if you're over 35, but you can't let that get into your head, because one of the reasons they tell you some of this stuff is so that they can sell you a very expensive assisted reproductive technology, also known as ART or ART. And while I love the artistry of these medications and these medical advancements, sometimes women are frightened into doing them before it's even necessary. And so before you start to blame your age and say, I'm too old and I waited too long and beat yourself up, instead say, okay, this is my age. These are the things that I can control. I'm going to go about controlling them and boosting them and optimizing them before I start to blame age. If you look at places in Europe and Scandinavia and places like Italy, their median age for women to have children is much higher because their numbers suggest that a lot of women have healthy pregnancies and well into their 40s. There's something called PRP, which is taking your own blood and then injecting it into your ovaries. And that has been shown to wake up women's ovaries in their 50s. So again, do not let age shame get into your head. Maybe you waited a little longer because you and your husband wanted to live your life. Maybe it took you a while to meet the person that was supposed to be the father of your children. Do not let anyone negate or poo-poo the decision that you made in getting to motherhood at the time that you did. Instead, let's empower ourselves and start to realize that it's not just about age. It is a distinctly American thing to focus solely on age. So I'm just here to say that age is not the only factor. And if it was, then women in their 40s, late 40s, and even some in their 50s would not be getting pregnant, simply put. So to that end, you need to understand how to make your body baby friendly. When we focus on things like AMH and FSH, and while those can be very enlightening numbers, especially if you want to do IVF or something like IUI, they are not the only thing, and they focus solely on the egg. But the thing is where is the egg living? Where is the egg created? Where is the egg maturing? In your body. And so when we focus solely on AMH and FSH, and then we go into very strong drug protocols around IVF and sometimes IUI, that can actually affect your egg quality negatively because of how hard it is on your body. And so again, it's about making your body baby friendly. I've had clients who have entertained donor eggs, but it's like, if your body is inflamed, if your blood sugar is not balanced, if your gut is messed up, then you're putting a good egg into a system and an environment that's still not going to be able to thrive. And that's what needs to be focused on. And so when you are thinking about making your body baby friendly, there are pillars that you want to understand. The first one is metabolic, your blood sugar. I will talk to you about blood sugar until I'm blue in the face. I could talk about it for hours because it means so much to so many different things. If you have heavy, painful periods and hormonal imbalance, working on your blood sugar, aka your metabolic factors, will dramatically improve that. If you have skin issues, which is also kind of a sign of like what's going on with your fertility based on what it says about your liver, when you balance your blood sugar, your liver is not having to process all of this excess sugar in your body. And things improve. Hormones are more balanced. Toxins are sticking around less. You're eliminating better. And so when you think about your gut health and you think about the food that I eat, but how is it being absorbed in my body? Then you are able to understand the metrics that have the most important values as far as fertility is concerned. But like I said, starting at the top with blood sugar is going to be the most important thing that you can resolve, because metabolic health affects everything. It affects your brain, it affects your skin, your sleep, your liver, your gut, your cortisol, everything. If your blood sugar is out of whack, things are not good inside. I'm just going to stand on that. And so when you are thinking about how do I make my body baby friendly, always start with your blood sugar. I have something called the blood sugar blueprint, which will help you understand your blood sugar completely and reverse any issues with it. If you want it, comment. But also, you will start to feel better. The food that you eat, you'll feel like you get energized from it and not tired from it. When you are eating food, you won't feel like, oh, my digestion is feeling weird. You won't feel tired after meals. You will sleep through the night. Working on your metabolic baseline will affect your whole life positively. Again, as someone who reversed insulin resistance herself, I had eczema so bad, it was from my neck to my ankles and everywhere in between. And when I fixed my blood sugar, that paved the way for my body to heal completely. And so I cannot overstate how important metabolic health is to your fertility. Now, also, by extension of that, your gut health is also really important. The reason being is that we do blood sugar first is because if you have blood sugar events, you have a cortisol response. And that floods your arms and your legs with all of the blood in your midsection. So you have to fight for your life or run for it. Even if the stress is fake and perceived just by something that's going on in your body physically, your body responds like that. And then what happens is you rob and deprive your digestive system of the resources to actually digest, absorb, assimilate, deliver all of the nutrients from the food that you eat. So you could be eating the best food that your naturopath or your traditional Chinese medicine doctor said to eat. But if you are not eating them in a way that is good for your blood sugar, you're getting 50% of that nutrient absorbed. And that's bad, because when we think about fertility, it is a luxury function in the body. Everything else has to be well funded, and then your fertility can be prioritized. But if you are not absorbing all of the nutrients from your food because there is a disruption from your metabolic factors, that's going to be an issue. And so understanding your gut health is so important. It's about more than just probiotics. It's about more than just eating fermented foods. Those are so important, but it's about more than that. And so understanding that pillar will also be dramatically shift what goes on with your fertility, what goes on with your period, and all of that. I've said it once and I've said it like 1,000 times. If your body doesn't feel safe to get pregnant, it will not get pregnant. And when you are having consistent cortisol responses because your blood sugar is out of whack every time you eat, that tells your body we are not safe. It is always dangerous. And so fertility and reproductive health will get deprioritized. So you want to bring more safety and nourishment back to the body, because then what happens is it can then start prioritizing your reproductive health, aka you getting pregnant. I always say inflammation is the block, it is the lock on the door to abundant fertility. Because if you have inflammation in your body, whether it is from consistent cortisol spikes from how you eat, because the result of cortisol spikes and chronic cortisol levels is inflammation. If you have inflammation from that source, or maybe your life is very stressful, or maybe you work out too intensely and you have high inflammation as a result of that, and chronically high, so it's high and it stays high, that will be the ultimate barrier to you having fertility success. And there will be people out here that say, I got pregnant when I was under the most stress. I got pregnant with it. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to you. And to that end, you have to be thinking about what influences inflammation. So what influences inflammation are things like inconsistent blood sugar balance, gut malabsorption. So your gut is not able to absorb the things that it's supposed to absorb, and therefore it can't lower inflammation. Your liver is not functioning well because it is not able to take the enzymes and the nutrients from your gut and actually implement them in phase 1 and phase 2 liver detox. And so when you understand where inflammation comes from, then you can go forward and remove the inflammation. But all of this talk about inflammation, and people say, well, you're inflamed. It's like inflammation comes from somewhere. You become inflamed because of something, and then inflammation is the result. So instead of being like, I have to reduce my inflammation, it's understanding, what am I doing that is causing me to be inflamed? And once you understand that, the path forward is actually much clearer, because it's like, if it's from blood sugar, let's do the things to balance our blood sugar. If it's from gut malabsorption, let's really work on the mechanisms that are going to help heal our gut truly. And when I say truly, I mean it's not a super cold, all vegetable juice cleanse. It is not a detox with all of these potions and lotions. Your gut health is a daily, consistent habit. You have really good gut health because you prioritize it and you do things every single day that is going to help your gut be abundant. And again, if you understand where your inflammation comes from, then you can go to work to fix it. Now, I can't not say this, But there are some of you that are trying to get pregnant with someone that is causing you emotional inflammation. And that also has to be dealt with as well. And I can understand for some of us gals and who are over 40 and who are thinking, okay, well, it's this guy or it's no guy. Sometimes it's just better off to do it by yourself. And I know that's me putting my opinion on you, but if there is someone that is causing you emotional inflammation and you are trying to get pregnant and it's not working, it could be a little bit of universal protection. I'm just going to say that. That being said, regardless of where your inflammation comes from, you need to understand where it comes from so that you can make a plan to stop causing your body to be inflamed. I get asked a lot about what to eat. So what should I eat, Bianca? What should I be eating for fertility? What should I eat for my gut health? And as valuable as that information is, the first thing that I'll say is if you're eating whole food, you're already way ahead of the game. People who are relying on a lot of processed foods, protein enriched foods that are not natural whole foods, you are going to struggle. One of the things you should not, absolutely never eat is processed food. It's bad for your body on a whole, but it is terrible for your fertility. But the thing that is important that I want to just drive home is that sometimes it's not about knowing what to eat, it's knowing how to eat it. Because like I said before, you could be eating the best ingredients. You could be eating all organic, all grass-fed. And if that is you, amazing, fortunate, blessed. However, you could still be eating those things in a way that is not conducive to your metabolic health, that is not conducive to your gut health, etc. And so I am a big fan of eating whole, unprocessed foods 80 to 85% of the time. The other 20 to 15% of the time is for living, vacations, holidays, weekends with friends, or you just want to have something bad. Like, we have to save space for that. This process is about consistency. It is not about perfection. That being said, that 80% of the time means so much to what's happening with your fertility. Meaning, if 80% of the time you are eating whole foods, you are eating good fats, so it's not seed oils. I know everyone is saying seed oils are fine. I do not believe that. And I believe that if you are trying to get pregnant and the primary macro for pregnancy is fat, and you are eating these deodorized and cleansed fats, I think that's a problem. So for me, whole foods also means that we are not relying on processed oils. And that's what a seed oil is. You might come at me in the comments for that. I'm ready. But again, you want to make sure that the foods that you are prioritizing have benefits there. They're not just for chewing and filling up. They're actually for nourishing you. There are many people in this world that eat a lot of calories, but they're still malnourished. Why? Because all of those calories are empty. They are made from processed ingredients that do nothing for their bodies. And so when it comes to what to eat, I also want you to know how to eat it. And when it comes to how to eat it, understanding that when you eat food, if you eat carbohydrate-rich foods all the time, that is going to spike your blood sugar. And I hear all the time, well, quinoa has protein in it. Your body is like, thank you, carbohydrate, for that little bit of protein. It still views it as a carbohydrate, and it could still be spiking your blood sugar. So if you are prioritizing a lot of carbohydrate foods, switching to a more animal-based approach, so eating meat, eating chicken, fish, things like cottage cheese, full-fat dairy, if your body can handle it. All of that is going to nourish you in a way that your body can digest really easily. A lot of these like plant-based but protein-rich foods, they're processed first. And second, it's hard for the body to absorb these things, and meat and animal products are very easily absorbed by the body, and they're nutrient dense, which means your body can take it in, give where it needs to go for you just to wake up, live, breathe, but also prioritize some of those nutrients for fertility. Understanding that fertility is not just about what you eat, about how you eat it will completely transform how you approach your plate as you are trying to approach pregnancy. And the last thing that I'll say about this is, for many people, going to the clinic or going to a fertility clinic and getting some help and some assistance can sometimes feel like a failure. It absolutely is not. Where I think it fails for people is when they are pushed into donor eggs and IVF and IUI and all of these things because they're scared. But also, you cannot say that someone has infertility if we have not worked on the body frame as a whole. When you go to a clinic, there is a lot of focus on the woman. There's a lot of focus on the egg, but there's very little focus on, is the body baby friendly? So until you've done the work on your blood sugar, your gut, your liver, inflammation, cortisol, stress, I do not want to hear you say, I can't get pregnant, because that is simply not the case, because we don't know that yet. Also, when you go into a clinic space, my goal is I work with everybody, whether you are doing assisted reproductive technology or whether you're trying on your own, whether you're trying with a partner, I help everyone, because what I do encourages what's happening at the fertility clinic, but it also helps you try naturally. That being said, is I want you to go into these spaces knowing that they work for you. Advocate for yourself. If you want the sperm tested, make sure it's motility, morphology, concentration, and fragmentation. That is the most important factor in sperm quality, and it is not tested enough. But if you go to a clinic and you know to ask that question, you are in the driver's seat. Also, if you go to a clinic and they just ask you if you smoke or drink and they don't really ask you about what you eat, how you live, etc., I want you to know that that work you have to do outside of that space. That isn't to say that they're a bad clinic, that's just their focus. And so the agency and the responsibility is yours to figure out how to bring your body up and how to make your body baby friendly, because having a baby friendly body serves you whether you're at the fertility clinic or whether you are trying at home. But understanding that you have agency and you have power in this process, regardless of how it looks, is going to make you feel more confident and more positive and hopeful about the outcome that you can achieve. So if you want to get pregnant in 2025, those are things that you really have to consider. It's about understanding your cycle and what it's telling you about your fertility. It's about understanding how to make your body baby friendly from all of these different pillars. It's also about understanding it's what you eat, but it's also how you eat it and how your body is interpreting those cues. And also being empowered no matter how your journey looks. As long as you know that you are in the driver's seat, this is your body, you know your body best and you know what your body needs, then you can go forth with confidence. And if you don't know what to do, you don't know what your body needs, you don't know how to make a plan, then you can hire me. I coach people one-on-one and I help them get pregnant all the time, and I would love to help you do so. Because if you're wondering, how do I get pregnant faster? You aren't alone, and I will help you figure it out. Until next time.